Welcome everybody to another exciting Best Wrestling podcast. Jonathan McDonald, along with Matt Fitzgerald, bringing you the very best in audio sports entertainment. And now, let's go to the ring. Here they are, your audio tag team champions, John and Matt. Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Jonathan McDonald here with you on this lovely Sunday evening, NFL kickoff weekend for those of you who are into that. I certainly am. I just got through watching my Carolina Hurricane, Carolina Panther, Carolina Charlotte, North Carolina Ric Flair Panthers destroying the Dallas Cowboys. Well, knock on wood, because the game's not over, but we have to get to recording. Matt Fitz is in the process, as some of you may know from Instagram, of moving to TO. So he's not going to be with us tonight. I'm joined in the production booth by my lady friend, Chantel, who's doing a phenomenal job helping me out and setting up everything so the show is ready to go tonight. And with that, let's dive right in. There's a bunch of stuff that we need to talk about. The first thing, of course, is Hell in a Cell. Now, of course, Hell in a Cell is the next pay-per-view coming up for WWE. But before we talk about the new, I just wanted to take a second to maybe talk about the old. You know, Hell in a Cell has been around since October of 1997. It premiered at the In Your House Bad Blood pay-per-view. And in that match, Shawn Michaels faced The Undertaker in the Cell's debut. It was an absolutely phenomenal match. And I would go on record, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, to say that it was the best Hell in a Cell match of all time and still remains so all these years later. Though there have been a number of very good Cell matches, to me, this one still ranks as the best. And there's a number of reasons for that. First of all, as I just opened an ice-cold Miller Lite here, first of all is the booking. The booking was excellent. Shawn Michaels had screwed The Undertaker out of the title at SummerSlam a few months earlier, and so this was the ultimate act of retribution, the ultimate act of revenge. Locked inside a cell, Undertaker would finally get his hands on the man who cost him the title. Now, the cell itself, of course, was an unusual structure in that, unlike the typical steel cage, this thing had a roof on it and extended beyond the ring itself. And this was to really make sure that there'd be no interference. Now, at that time, Shawn Michaels had just started forming D-Generation X with Chyna and Triple H. And back at SummerSlam, in a steel cage match with Mankind, we saw Hunter Hearst Helmsley get a lot of aid from Chyna, proving that maybe the classic steel cage match of old wasn't necessarily the best way to prevent run-ins and interference. So the Hell in a Cell was devised by the powers that be, and so it was thought, well, there's no way for anybody to get into this. There's no way for DX to help out their buddy Shawn Michaels. So in order to get around that, there needed to be a very, very creative outlet, and there was. Twice, in fact, in that match. First, we saw a cameraman, probably played by a local independent wrestler, quote-unquote get injured by Shawn Michaels, who was flying out of the ring, and this necessitated medical supervision as the attendants came and unlocked the cell and were able to transport the cameraman out of harm's way. This opening of the cell door, however, provided a great opportunity for the Heartbreak Kid to escape. Escape he did, and we got to see some shenanigans on top of the cage for a bit, which just brought the oohs and ahs from the crowd. And we got to see Shawn Michaels do a fall from the side of the cell onto the announce table in an excellent spot. But the door was closed once again once the competitors got back inside and the cameraman was taken away. So what or whom should be able to just rip the door from its hinges? But the monster, the big red machine, Kane, making a classic, unforgettable debut. Just when you think Undertaker has it sealed with his own retribution-filled chair shot and an upcoming tombstone, The Undertaker's younger brother debuts in a very memorable moment that set up a classic feud and a WrestleMania match. If you haven't seen it by now, fire up your network, check it out. It's Undertaker and Shawn Michaels in the very first Hell in a Cell match from In Your House Bad Blood, October of 1997. But that was the old, and now we have to turn our attention to the new. And the new, right now, at least this year, has been building up on Raw as Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns in terms of the WWE Jam Red Strawberry Championship. And on the SmackDown side of things, something unique, not their title being represented, but what has been an excellent feud in Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy. Now, the Raw side of things, to me, and I think that Matt would agree if he was here, it's looking more and more like Braun's doing the job. Braun has been now turned heel as he can be turned anyways, as much as the fans will buy it come pay-per-view time. And he's aligned himself with Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre to kind of form a counter stable to the Shield, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose. So I think there are going to be shenanigans. I think that all the stables will get involved. If I had to make a prediction of how that they could get involved in a cell match, well, we've got a beast in Braun Strowman who can knock over an ambulance and knock over a stage, so ripping a door off shouldn't be too much trouble for him. So I think as the weeks go by, it's looking like more and more that they're booking and setting up a Roman Reigns victory. So that to me is where the smart money lies. On the Raw side of things, on SmackDown, I have just been so super impressed with Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton. They both seem really reinvigorated by this feud. They both seem to be bringing their A stuff to this. You got to remember, these two were feuding 10 years ago in 2008. They had a classic feud, but we're 10 years later now. These guys are 10 years older now, and they still show why they are top superstars. This has been a tremendous rivalry. Randy Orton, we talked about it a couple shows ago, plays an excellent heel. And if there's anybody who can play a great babyface, Ricky Morton style, it's Jeff Hardy. And I just want to say before moving on, I saw this hilarious GIF on Twitter today. If you haven't, you want to check it out. It's it's Jeff Hardy at Hell in a Cell is what the words say, and it's just this dude from 60 stories above off this super diving board doing about 3 rotations and 2 backflips before finally falling to the pool. Everybody has been retweeting it, so you'll probably come across it, but if not, just get on your Twitter machine and search for Jeff Hardy at Hell in a Cell and have a good laugh. Speaking of Twitter, I got a lot of tweets this week and a lot of DMs there as well, and I just wanted to take the time to address some of them on the air because I get a lot of good conversation going and a lot of good people sliding into my DMs when I'm not getting sex spam or please follow me. But sometimes in between all that, I get some excellent stuff. And with permission, I always ask if I can bring it up on the show. The first one was about my thoughts on the open challenge type trope. I'm a huge fan. We saw John Cena doing it after WrestleMania 31 with the US title. We're seeing Seth Rollins doing it right now. I think it means we're always going to get good matches on television, at least one free good match on TV each week. And we saw some incredible stuff with Cena and Sami Zayn. We've seen some stuff with Kevin Owens that developed from that. We've seen Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler have a tremendous TV match. And most recently, Kevin Owens again came after Seth Rollins for that IC title, and they had a absolute blockbuster of a match. I'm a big fan. I think the only concern is you want to make sure all the matches are believable, which to this point I think they have been. All the challengers have certainly been legitimate. And you want to make sure you hit the right ratio, in my opinion, of successful defenses versus actual title changes. I don't think you want too many title changes because it devalues the title anytime you're changing it too often. And you want to save a title change, and this has been my philosophy, for a bigger event when it's an announced match, but you want to make sure it at least happens once in a while so that the open challenge doesn't become a guaranteed successful title defense. So right now, I think they're hitting the mark just fine with that. We saw Seth Rollins lose it to Dolph Ziggler in an open challenge, and to my memory, that's about it. So I'm a big fan. I think they're doing it right now, and I hope that it continues. I got a lot of feedback positively about my campaign for Sasha this past week on Twitter. I see that Sasha Banks has been tweeting these kind of deep, philosophical type tweets about the best is yet to come and so forth. And I really hope that means for her a renewed push. And I tweeted this out when I was live watching Monday Night Raw this past week, maybe a couple of weeks ago, can't remember. But I mean, Sasha was coming out to just do a total squash match with Dana Brooke it was, and it just made me tweet how sad I was to see how far someone like Sasha Banks had fallen in the women's division. This lady is a total main eventer. She should always be in or around the main event scene or the title scene. I have no idea why she's not there right now. I think stuff between her and Ronda Rousey would just be phenomenal, and I have no idea why they're not even remotely close to that or building towards that. So hopefully when Sasha says the best is yet to come, that the best means a renewed push for the boss. Also, I got some mixed feedback to my suggestion that Roman as a heel, which is always a 1 in a million shot, versus The Rock would be the best money match that WWE could do right now. And I stand by it. I know I got some pushback on this on Twitter. I know that The Rock sometimes comes back and it's not The Rock that we know from 2000 and 2001, but it can be. We saw glimpses of it in, I guess I'll call the first feud with John Cena and some of his stuff with CM Punk. And I think that when it comes to helping family and pushing for a big match there, that The Rock would definitely be motivated to bring the very best stuff that the Great One has to offer. And so I just think there would be so much emotion in that top superstar of today versus top superstar of yesteryear type scene. The Rock is always good for bringing in outside fans. I think that The Rock could help Roman elevate his stuff on the mic. I think it would do a great job of sort of dividing the crowd in a Team Roman versus Team Rock type thing. I think it's a money match. I know some of you tweeted or DM'd me and said that you think Rock and Lesnar would be. I don't know how possible that is. I know some of you tweeted at me and said that you don't want to see a part-timer come back for a main event. I respect that as well. But to me, I got to stay true to my guns. To me, this is the money match. Speaking of money match, I have got to shout out one underrated gem that I came across today on the YouTubes. Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels. It's from Raw in 2003. It's a WrestleMania 19 rematch. It kind of gets buried amongst everything because, there's so many good Shawn Michaels matches. There's so many good Chris Jericho matches. Hell, there's so many good Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho matches. This one gets lost in the shuffle, but hey, it's a 20-minute plus match on Monday Night Raw between HBK and Chris Jericho. You can't go wrong with it. I stumbled upon it today on YouTube, so I'm sure it's on the network. It's on Raw. I believe it's from June or July of 2003. Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, WrestleMania rematch. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. And check us out on social media, please. We're getting more and more followers every day, and we are so, so grateful to have your support. And we also would love to have your support when it comes to the podcast itself. You can find us on Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find the very best in audio sports entertainment. And we would love to have a subscription or follow, 5-star review, because that stuff helps us, helps elevate our podcast, and therefore helps us continue to bring you the very best wrestling podcast. When it comes to social media, we're on Twitter. We're at RealBW Podcast, and on Instagram at Best Wrestling Podcast. You can hear the phone blowing up right now because we are always interacting with our fans on social media, and we'd love to interact with you. Take your questions, take your feedback, take your comments. We love interacting with all you guys because you guys are the best. That's it for tonight. That's it for Best Wrestling Podcast. Hopefully when we resurface, we'll be talking to a Matt that's live and coming at you from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Until then, this is Best Wrestling Podcast, and baby, we've only just begun.